It's a very strange time to be a male, to be a boy, to be a man. It's a very confusing time. When I was growing up, there were icons in sports, in movies, the kind of the rugged masculine hero, but in all aspects of life. I remember as a 3-year-old, I can remember John F. Kennedy on the television. I was fascinated by him. Mm-hmm. It was a man who was very commanding. He was the president, but there was also a weird kind of softness to him, like a strange poetic side to it that drew me in. There were these icons. You wanted to grow out of adolescence. You wanted to become a man. You wanted to enter the world and follow in the footsteps of some of these people that you admired. But now it's like being a male, being a masculine is almost ugly. It's dirty. It's almost like something.
Yeah, it's like always like they're trying to make it sound like it's so perverted and so ugly and so dirty. It's like this is a way to try to basically gain power over the male, to be able to understand, to dictate what a man should be, to change what a man should be. Because one thing is for sure is that they want men to be everything. And at this point, men don't know what to be anymore, because there's been so much ways that we are being dictated, so much ways that we are being filtered, so much ways that, we are just basically being swayed, pushed one side to the next, up and down, all around, telling us, everybody's trying to tell us what we should be and how we should be. And one thing is for sure is that what is really toxic is that it is toxic to be telling men to be bringing men down because you don't dislike what they do. I'm saying if you're gonna be a man, you're gonna be, doing basically abiding by the law, respecting the rules, and doing your best to be not hurting other people, then you should be fine. But again, all of the time is like they wouldn't want you to say what you want to say, even though everybody is so much looking for ways to be hurt, or looking for ways to find whatever that you're saying is untrue, or basically looking for an argument to whatever that you say. And as a man, you have to think, okay, at this point, what is it that you want me to be, and why are you being so toxic, trying to tell me who I should be? Don't you want to be the person that they wouldn't like it, especially for the people who's trying to define what a man should be, always trying to define, okay, a man should be like this, a good man should be like that. And they wouldn't like it if it's happening to them. But for some reason, they feel so justified and so feel so self-empowered to be able to be the one as to play like a god over a man's life, to tell us, okay, this is how we should be. This is what's expected of us. And when we take a look at a woman doesn't want to be told what they should do or who they should be. They want to be free. So why is at this point in 2026, as men, we are still having this conversation, or we are still in a way trying to protect our masculinity, trying to protect of who we are? And I do understand there are people who commit crimes, but I'm not talking about this type of people, but I'm talking about men in general. Can't we define who we are?
You have to wipe off your skin, toxic masculinity. But, there's something you have to say about testosterone. It can turn ugly, but it drives you. It makes you do things. It's got a positive element. It gives you ambition. It makes you go out and do things. 12,000 years ago, it made you go hunt mastodons and kill them with your...
True. And testosterone, there's a fight against testosterone, but I don't hear there's a fight against estrogen, which is the woman's hormone. So why are we focusing on just a hormone or something that we don't change? We just basically, we are born like this, and this is our natural proclivity to produce testosterone. Why is it a fight against testosterone? Why is it not a fight against, wrongdoings, basically? And why is it that we have to equate or basically connect wrongdoings to men and testosterone and masculinity? Why is it that there's a fight against man being masculine? Male being masculine is something that is just, it's just like as women being feminine. So one thing is for sure is just say you don't like us without saying that you don't like us. Just say that you want us to be whoever you want us to be, so we can meet your goals or basically serve you. And just say it. Just come out and say it just plainly, and just be proud of it. But when it comes to trying to say, okay, testosterone is so bad, as if it's something that we totally have control over. And I do understand they would say there are things that you can do to improve your testosterone. And also for women, they will say, so there are certain things that you can use to balance your hormones. But I would say probably as men, we need to have we need to change the language that we use in terms of ways that we can balance our testosterone. So probably to keep the conversation or the language the same as women, so it can give us a better chance to not seem to be as the bad person for just basically want to improve our hormonal levels.
other members, right? There should be positive things about being a man. And so then I don't want to stay in adolescence. Don't want to stay in this little cocoon with my mommy and my daddy in my home playing games. I want to go out in the world. I want to conquer. I want to have ambition. I think the root of the problem is that there's no kind of positive masculinity out there. And so it doesn't give people an incentive to get out of that little kind of adolescent cocoon. It's a very strange.
I disagree with him with that last thing. There's no positive masculinity trait out there. What about him? There are very much a lot of positive masculinity trait, and you can even think about it. You can even think about it. But the thing is that the one time there's one negative masculine, or not even masculine, but let's put it like this: the one time a man does something that is terrible, and it's been painted with a broad brush of all men tends to do this thing, or all men are like that. But if it would be another way around, if it would be a woman that does the same thing that a man did, they will try to identify with her in terms of, okay, this is a situation that is very much her. Not all women are like that. So I find this conversation is very disingenuous and very much, basically lies, focus on lies, and trying to demonize men and trying to print all men, make all men seems as if they are this negative and bad and all of this. And at the same time, you want men to be who you are, who you want them to be. And at the same time, you want men to be a provider. You want men to be to provide you security, to be all of these things that are so much romanticized about men. You want a man to be like this. And what about him? What's left for him? So the only good answer is for him to be the way that you want him to be, which is strip himself of his own identity. And again, I'm not talking about the type of man who would be hurting other people, who would do the worst type of things. But one thing is for sure, even these guys who do the worst type of things, there's still a lot of the time there are women around. So what about them? What about these women who are around? Are they just being pushed around? Because again, we live in a time where women are protected. So of course, it's not in all countries, just like there are men who are not protected in all countries. But we have to try to find the middle ground here. We have to try to find what's gonna work, then rather just always having this conversation, or it's just, all men are gonna be like that. Once think about it, if you're a woman, when you have a child that is a male, are you gonna automatically think, okay, well, he's gonna have to be like this? Are you gonna have to be raised him to be soft, or to be the type of man that you would want, but again, the type of man that you truly hate? So this is a conversation that we need to come in this conversation without the experience of our past hurt, of our past disappointment with men, but try to come enter the situation with a clean mind and trying to, because one thing is for sure, if you're gonna operate in a certain situation, or you're gonna come into a conversation with already an agenda of bad faith, so you're gonna create that type of agenda, because you're already projecting from a standpoint of negativity, or standpoint of blaming, or standpoint of seeing the situation in a negative way. So of course your output into that conversation is going to be negative. But again, for me, I just want men to be who they are, who they want to be. Again, upstanding, civilized people. But at the same time, for women to actually accept that, for women to understand, because again, one thing's for sure is that as men, we accept, a lot of the time we tend to accept the women that we are dealing with. And I'm not saying all men, but again, there's us on the other side of this, there's also toxic femininity, or toxic people that can be women that can be toxic, because one thing's for sure is that this conversation is not being had. But again, in order for us to find ways as men, find our way, a lot of the time we have to try things, and sometimes we make the wrong decision, and sometimes we make mistakes. But again, what is life if you're not making mistakes? If you're not making mistakes, then that means you're not really trying enough, or you're just not trying. If somebody is not really making mistakes, and I'm wondering, okay, how can you live without making any mistakes? Are you God? And I'm not saying like there are mistakes that you can make because as human being we don't know. That's why it's called a mistake. There are things that we just don't know what's gonna happen. But again, if you're gonna be living life, it's really trying to be a better you, trying to find different ways that you can elevate yourself and elevate your family, your society, and the people that are around you. Guys, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Like and follow, and thank you.